Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Game Things. I'm your host for the week, Ming, and today we'll start off our episode by talking about a relatively good piece of news, and that news is that Krafton, PUBG's publisher, has acquired Tango Gameworks. If you don't know what Tango Gameworks worked on, effectively, they worked on Hi-Five Rush, The Evil Within, as well as Ghostwire Tokyo. So those are some of the games that they made. And why do I say it's good news? Is because prior to Krafton acquiring Tango Gameworks was acquired by Xbox, and Xbox basically just said, nah, we don't need you guys anymore, and decided to cut them out. So yeah, it's good to see that Krafton managed to pick up Tango Gameworks, and then we can continue to see more good titles being produced, because let's face it, The Evil Within, Ghostwire Tokyo, as well as Hi-Fi Rush are pretty decent games, really fun games, and it'll be a shame to see like a good team no longer working on games. So yeah, it's good to know that we can expect more from Tango Gameworks in the future. Moving on from that, we'll talk about some actual game related things, and the first one we'll talk about is Black Myth Wukong. So yeah, Black Myth Wukong is going to be released next week, effectively on the 20th of August, and prior to its release, they effectively released a benchmarking tool that you can download right now on Steam. And effectively, the benchmarking tool allows you to test if your setup is good enough to play the game. And thus far, we have seen insane numbers downloading the benchmarking tool. Like really a crap ton of people have downloaded the benchmarking tool just to see if their setup is good enough to play the game. So if you are looking to play the game, make sure to test it out right now to see if your setup is in fact solid enough to play the damn game. Because from what I've seen from the trailers, the game looks really beautiful and really graphically intensive. So yeah. Aside from that, we have news on Dead Island 2. So Dead Island 2 will be receiving a major update in the 22nd of October, and it will include New Game Plus, which of course means increased difficulty, new enemies, and well, ways to make yourself more powerful, including like extra skill slots. Aside from that, the update will also have a brand new mode called Neighborhood Watch, which is basically just a co-op horde mode, which everybody can enjoy a good co-op horde mode. Because let's face it, co-op horde mode basically just means Left 4 Dead 2. So yeah, who doesn't enjoy a good Left 4 Dead 2? So yeah, if you already have Dead Island 2 and are actually enjoying it right now, you would be excited to hear that on the 22nd, there'll be more content. Moving on from that, we have news on a brand new Until Dawn Remaster, which is set to be released on the 4th of October. And so far, based on some of the pictures that I've seen of the Until Dawn Remaster, it looks really good because the graphical increase is really high, and it's so high that the characters in the game look really lifelike. In fact, one of the characters in particular, the jock guy, I guess, I don't really know his name, I can't recall. In the remastered version, he basically looks so much like the actor that he's based on, and it's kind of creepy. But yeah, effectively it shows that the graphics have been upgraded to a really high level. And I would say if you've actually played Until Dawn prior, you can still pick up the game because with the upgraded graphics, it's definitely going to be a new experience, and I highly suggest checking it out if you are a fan of the Until Dawn series. Next up, we have news on Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl, and yeah, finally we have official developer deep dive gameplay. After being delayed for so long, we finally have gameplay footage, and based on what I've seen thus far, it looks alright, I guess. Now, the reason why I say it's alright is because the game basically kind of reminds me of Rust, but instead of it being more of a survival game, it's more of a FPS, but it still has some survival aspects, like you loot stuff across like different places, you loot like meds and stuff like that. So it kind of feels like Rust. I mean, the general vibe feels like Rust, but it's more of a much graphically pleasing Rust, I would say. The environment itself is definitely beautiful. The gameplay looks fine, I guess. I didn't really see anything too spectacular. It's an FPS game. Kind of hard to make it spectacular, I guess, but honestly, I'm just not that into this type of genre whereby it's an open world survival FPS game. So yeah, not really my cup of tea, but if you enjoy it, it definitely does look good. So yeah, it's definitely good to see that after a really long delay, the devs are finally releasing the game. And let's face it, the devs are actually from Ukraine, so it is actually really impressive that they did manage to create the game while being in a war. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And if you enjoy the game or just want to support the devs, make sure to check out Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl when it's released. Next, we'll talk about Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 multiplayer footage. So yeah, in terms of the multiplayer footage, it looks and reminds me a lot of, well, Destiny 2. But unlike Destiny 2, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 has a lot of blood. So yeah, think Doom, but combined with Destiny 2's multiplayer vibes, and you mix them together. So yeah, it looks pretty good. A lot of blood and gore, and gameplay wise, it feels very smooth. And yeah, it seems fun. If you definitely enjoyed the Warhammer franchise, this game will definitely be for you, and you definitely have a ton of fun when it's released. So now, moving on from all the news that we just covered, we're going to talk about some rather depressing news, and that is on, well, delays. So in terms of delays, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has been delayed and will now only arrive on the 11th February 2025. Originally, it's supposed to be released sometime during the end of 2024, but it has been delayed to 2025, and currently there's no news on why exactly delayed it, but it is what it is. The game got delayed. It happens. Anyway, that's all the delays that we have. Next, we move on to some releases that you can get your hands on right now. Starting with Kena Bridge of Spirits, available on Xbox Series S and X, as well as Xbox One. So Kena Bridge of Spirits we have covered before prior, because the game was originally released on PlayStation, and now it's available on Xbox as well. So yeah, if you have seen the footage and you are interested in it and you do own an Xbox, I guess you can pick it up. But other than that, I would say you're better off saving for Black Myth Wukong. But unfortunately, Black Myth Wukong is not being released on Xbox initially. So yeah, too bad for you Xbox users, I guess. Anyway, moving on from that, we have Hunt Showdown 1896, available on PS5, Xbox Series S and X, as well as PC. So you might be wondering, what is Hunt Showdown 1896? Well, Hunt Showdown 1896 is effectively the re-release of the original Hunt Showdown. So if you didn't know, Hunt Showdown is basically a, if I recall correctly, 8-player game, but you guys play in teams of 2. And the objective is to hunt down a monster as well as kill the other 6 players. So yeah, that was basically the entire concept of it. It was a pretty unique and fun game. There was also like a couple of strategic things you can do, like hiding and also deciding on what objective to do first, either killing your opponents or you're focusing on killing the monster. So yeah, it was actually a pretty unique game, I would say. So much so that if you have never tried it before, I actually suggest trying it out, because the concept itself is just really special. So yeah, if you are interested in an FPS focused monster hunting game, but at the same time features PvP combat, then I highly suggest checking Hunt Showdown 1896 out. The last and final release that we'll be talking about this week is Sam and Max The Devil's Playhouse Remastered, available on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So Sam and Max The Devil's Playhouse is effectively a game where you play as Sam and Max, a dog and a bunny. So Sam is the dog and Max is the bunny. But in this case, for this particular entry of the franchise, it's the third and final chapter of the trilogy. So if you do actually intend to play and check out the game, you kind of need to know the other 2 games first, unfortunately, because it's a trilogy. And yeah, personally, I don't know much about the game. I've seen the characters before, and that's the extent I know about the game. I've seen the gameplay trailer, and nope, I do not know what the game is about, unfortunately. The only thing I kind of figured out was this particular title focuses on, well, Max and his supposedly emerging psychic powers. Yeah, and of course Sam is there to just ground him and make him stay rooted, I guess. So yeah, that's basically all I'm gonna talk about for this particular title because I really don't know too much about the game. It looks fine, the gameplay looks okay, and unfortunately I just don't really know that much about the story, unfortunately. So yeah. But well, if you are a fan of the franchise, definitely check out the remastered version because it does look pretty good. But unfortunately, the only thing is, for all you PS5 owners out there, the game's not available on PS5, it's only available on PS4. So yeah. Anyways, that marks the end of our segment, and now we move on to our last and final topic, which is, well, free things. So this week, Epic Games Store is giving out Death's Gambit Afterlife, as well as World of Warship, including the starter pack Albany. So yeah, if you are interested in these two titles, be sure to claim it while it's still available. And that effectively marks the end of our episode for this week. Once again, I was your host Ming, and I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Game Things.